Hello, this is Bruce.
And Jackie from Touristtrek.
We travel as much of the world as possible and then assemble the things that we learn, both good and bad, into videos so that we can pass that learning experience on to you.
We have had some fantastic trips with itineraries that have worked out extremely well. The photos that you are watching are from just some of our more memorable trips.
I do a lot of research before we depart, so hopefully our channel can save you some time.
Wherever you go, whatever your plans, travel smart and travel safe. Just a reminder before we get started, if you enjoy this video, please like it. Add a comment about some of your experiences at this destination, share it with a friend, and definitely subscribe.
Welcome. We will explore the first of a series of 4 ski towns that we are visiting in the summer. Brian Head is the first. It's a small town in the southwest part of Utah. It is a very small city of 83 full-time residents according to the 2010 census. Furthermore, they are the highest elevation city in Utah and get over 29 feet of snow each year. Hi, it's Bruce and Jackie with Touristtrek. We have just arrived in Brian Head, Utah. Brian Head, Utah is in the southwest corner of Utah. It is a ski town. And it's only got a permanent population of less than 100 people, but there are a lot of ski slopes around and a lot of outdoor activities to do. This will be the first in a series of 4 videos that we're going to do about ski towns. And why are we visiting ski towns in August?
We are visiting ski towns in the summer of 2023 because we live in Phoenix and it is hitting record high temperatures, consistent days record, and we decided that we would like to just escape that for a little bit. So we have journeyed off to the cooler parts of the country, and ski towns are the place we decided to go.
And with many of the ski towns, they're higher in elevation. So we're at about 9,800 feet above sea level, nearly 2 miles above sea level. So you have to, if you're going to come to these type of cities, you need to be careful about the elevation because kind of the air is rare here. And like Jackie, when we tested your oxygen levels in blood, you were down to 80%.
Right, yeah.
And mine was quite a bit lower too. There is some medicine your doctor can prescribe for you to help with that a little bit, but particularly people at risk can have some issues. You might want to also acclimate a little bit on your way up so that you don't go from 1,700 feet to nearly 10,000 in one day. Mm-hmm. And anyway, if you have pets, they can have just as many issues. So we brought our pet along, our dog, and we had the vet check him out before we left and gave him the green light. So here we are, and we're excited to do this series, and because today is the first day that Phoenix has been under 110 in something to the effect of 25 straight days. And so we're kind of glad we're not there. What else about Brian Head?
Well, they have quite a few things to do. Like Bruce said, the population's low, but they do have quite a few tourists that come up, and they have a really cool park that during the winter is ski and during the summer is kind of adventure park. So I'm excited about going to check that out a little bit. And we did read on their website about some things that they have available, such as disc golf, which we've been talking about wanting to try, and we have not ever done it. So we went ahead and picked up a Frisbee for ourselves, each of us, and we're going to just go try it out. That seems like fun. And they have an ATV rental shop. I think there's one in town, so we're going to try that out, and that'll be super cool. And we are avid pickleball players, and we did see a pickleball court at what they call the mall, so we're looking forward to checking out their mall and playing pickleball.
Yeah, I understand there's some pretty good fishing too, so we're going to be checking all that out and reporting it back to you, and so we're going to go for now. Bye. So of course we were going to be gone for 4 weeks, so we had to pack up the car, about everything that we could fit into that, and then headed off to Utah. One of the first things that we ran into is Zion National Park, and that obviously is one of the big 5 of Utah and their national parks, and beautiful area. Lots of wildlife, trails, fishing, hiking, lots to do there. Good place to visit. It is one of those parks that you enter in one side and exit the other. So we entered in the east side and exited out the west side right before we got to Bryan Head. Zion National Park has many activities, including hiking, biking, kayaking, birding, canyoneering, horseback riding, rafting, and river trips. It has a California condor, which is the largest flying bird in the U.S. with a 10-foot wingspan. It contains one of the most dangerous hikes, which is Angel's Landing. 5.4 miles round trip and gains of 1,488 feet in elevation. Steep grades, steep drop-off, no guardrails, and 1,000 feet to the bottom. The last half mile of the trail is only a few feet wide and steep drop-offs each side. This hike is not for the faint of heart. It also contains one of the largest natural arches. Kotlob Arch is 287 feet long and requires a 14-mile round-trip hike to see it. As Utah's first national park, Zion's name comes from ancient Hebrew, meaning sanctuary or refuge, and was carved by the Virgin River approximately 2,000 feet from the top to the bottom of the canyon. The park was originally inhabited by the Anasazi. Zion gets 4.3 million visitors per year. Some fun areas are the subway, which is the left fork of the North Creek, and the Narrows, which is at the bottom of the canyon. And then we finally arrived at Bryan Head, Utah.
Here is the hotel we stayed at, Cedarbreaks Lodge. They have a variety of room types, from pretty much a hotel room to an apartment size with several areas for sleeping if you had a larger group staying with you. This lodge does have a pretty nice pool and hot tub area, and while we were there, they were renovating their spa area, so they should have a nice area to get massages or all of that fun stuff if you're into that. They also have a great game room downstairs with air hockey, pool table, table tennis, all of the fun stuff to keep kids entertained. And Bruce and I really enjoyed it ourselves as well. The outside area has a really nice basketball and volleyball area, also a playground for the kids with climbing and swinging and that kind of good stuff. They have a fire pit area with several Adirondack chairs around it, which is a really nice way to meet other guests while you're staying there. Everybody kind of gathers there in the evening and, has a drink or two and talks and just shares information. I will say food is pretty challenging to come by in Bryan Head. If you're going to stay there, you might want to get a room that has a kitchen so you can cook your own meals and pick up groceries in Cedar City on your way up. They do have a couple of convenience stores with some limited groceries in there, as well as a few restaurants. Some of the nicer restaurants are fairly expensive. The hotel itself, Cedarbreaks Lodge, does have a restaurant, but the prices are not great and the food didn't look super worth the price. They do have another restaurant that we didn't go to. We did walk through it. That looked fairly nice. But again, we just brought our own food from grocery stores and cooked most of ours. They have grills that you can use, 3 outside grills that you can use. And they do give you a really nice barbecue set every time you use it at the front desk. You just go and pick it up and then bring it back, and then they clean it up and have it ready for the next guest. The grills themselves weren't great. They got the job done, but there were some issues with each one. One had a top that wasn't completely hinged right, and another one, like half of it worked and half of it didn't. So there were just some issues with every one of the grills, but we managed to get the the food cooked, and it was really nice. And a lot of people did that every night that we went out there. There were people cooking on the grills. We did see this cool ski lift chair that is a great place for taking pictures. It's pretty common in all the ski towns that we visited on this trip, so you can, if you're going to go to a ski town and you want a cute picture on one of these ski benches, it's a fun place to sit. You could also, in Bryan Head, they have a mall. That's what they call it. It's got a general store, a coffee shop, a Mexican food restaurant, a pizza place, and a little sports shop off to the side. So that's a really cute little place. It's not what you would normally think of as a mall, but it is their mall. They do, at the general store at that mall, have an outside area that doubles as it's a ice skating rink in the winter, and then in the summer they turn it into kind of like a sports activity area for summer activities like cornhole and pickleball, and that's where we played pickleball. You might want to just beware if you plan to go there to play pickleball. They don't give you the equipment. You have to rent it unless you bring your own. And we had our paddles, but we didn't think to bring a ball for some reason. And we did go to different stores while we were in Cedar City looking for a ball, but nobody had a pickleball. So we rented a ball from the general store, and that cost us $9 for the day. So you didn't have to turn it in an hour. We got to keep it for the whole day. But what we found is that the owners of Bryan Head Sports, which is next door to the mall, they were really sweet, and we told them the cost of the ball that we were renting, and we just were trying to find out if they had one, and they did not. And they went out of their way to find us a ball from a friend down in the city, and had it for us to pick up the next day, and we got to use it for the rest of the trip that we were there. So we really, thank them for their generosity and kindness, and they are just it's a really sweet store there, and the people that own that store are really nice. I think that is kind of the overview of the resort and the general area of the Bryan Head. There is one thing a really cute deer resides nearby the convenience store that was across from Cedarbreaks Lodge, and the owners or the people that work in the store told us her name, but I can't remember, but I know it's a female deer, and she just kind of lays on the porch regularly, so if you see her, she's just lounging out in front of the store, just watching people come in and out. She's pretty cute.
A little further up the road past the mall is a really nice pond called Bristlecone Pond, where there is a park that surrounds it with a large ramada, pickleball, canoeing, volleyball, tetherball, fishing, kids play area, and more. It's a really fun area to spend the day at. Getting back to lodging for a moment, if I was to head back to Bryan Head, I would likely stay at one of the condos that are right at the pond and park. Here's a list of them. We had a ton of fun when we rented an ATV to do some back road exploring. There are only a couple of places, but we chose Utah ATV Rentals, which was very close to our hotel. The owner was very helpful and gave us maps and suggested routes. The ATV even had GPS in it. On our ATV trip, we saw some pretty great views and forest areas, open areas, and burn areas from a fire that they had a few years ago. One of the unique things to see on the way is the old bus that has a mystery and ghosty kind of story behind it. Ask a local, they'll tell you.
So one day we went down to this town called Panguich, and it's not too far from Bryan's Head. It makes for a really nice day trip. We learned about this town from a couple that we'd met in Bryan's Head, and they told us about this restaurant in Panguich that they just really highly recommended called the Cowboy Smokehouse Steakhouse. And so we thought, okay, well, we'll take a trip down to Panguich and learn more about this town and this restaurant. So what's really nice is that the drive there from Bryan's Head to Panguich is beautiful. You pass the breathtaking Panguich Lake, along with some other really great views along the way. There's wildflowers on the way that you get to see as you're going as well. Once you're there, it's like stepping back in time. We walked through the town for a bit, browsed some of the little shops. We did have our lunch at the Cowboy Smokehouse Steakhouse, which I would also highly recommend. The food's good, the prices are reasonable. The only thing to know is that if you sit by the window, you could end up fighting off flies as we did. I will tell you that this town is like a sweet old-timey cowboy town. It has a lot of history to it, so they have nice signs all along the main town or the main street that give you pictures of what certain buildings look like, in the past, and then a little history of the building and the shops and that kind of stuff before they were, renovated and turned into what they are now. Once you're done in Panguich, it's not a very large town, so you don't have a lot that you're going to spend too much time with. But there's also Bryce Canyon, which is very close, and we did drive through that. And I think if we were to do it again, we would plan a little more time to spend at Bryce Canyon. There's lots of trails for hiking, as well as some really great places to take pictures. Some other things that are close by are, the Dixie National Forest, and then just really nice, big areas with these beautiful wildflowers that are really popular to look at down there. So I would, if you have time while you're in Bryan's Head, I would make the trip to Panguich and just check out that cute little town.
Nearby is the Cedarbreaks National Monument. Please note that it is generally closed in the winter. At the top of the grand staircase, the park is over 10,000 feet in elevation and provides much of the typical hiking, biking, and beautiful views that exist in national parks. There is a road that is about 5 miles long from one end of the park to the other, with many turnoffs and overlooks. We found it to be much less crowded than other parks, which was very enjoyable. The park rangers offer times for a guided hike and nature discussions and any other questions that you have. We enjoyed the park so much, we went back for the sunset and enjoyed the certified dark sky aspect of the park. The dark sky certification means that there is little light pollution from nearby cities and that the park itself mitigates their own light pollution. At a dark sky park, you have fantastic views of the stars. We found an app that let us point our phone to the sky and it highlighted all the constellations for us. That app that we used was called Skyview Light. It was free and it works great no matter where you are. The photos really don't do justice to the beauty of the stars on a clear night. It was amazing views and time well spent. In this photo, there seems to be a strange glow in the sky. Ooh, eerie. We have always wanted to try disc golf, and as it turns out, Bryan Head Resort offers that in the summer, along with downhill mountain biking, ski lift rides to the top, rock climbing wall, and a few other options. So we got our tickets and what we will generously call a map of the disc golf course and rode to the top of the hill. The views were incredible and the lift was very nice. Getting off the lift, we were now over 11,000 feet high. There were a couple of signs that pointed to the start of the course, so we set off down the trail. And that is when things started to unravel. We could not find the start, so we started exploring down another path and ran into a guide from the resort. He was able to walk us up to the start of the course. We asked him where the basket was, which is what you're aiming for at the end of the hole. We couldn't see it, and the guide had no idea where it was either. We looked at our map and that we were given, and I have extensive map reading skills as I used to work as a land surveyor and determined that the map was essentially useless. So we ended up walking aimlessly around until we finally stumbled across the basket and started at that point. Each hole after that was an adventure and frustration as we were walking across very rocky terrain or waist-high weeds trying to find the holes. After about 5 holes, we gave up and started walking down the hill on a trail that we found. By the way, there was no one else apparently playing, so apparently we were the only ones that didn't get the memo to avoid disc golf. Anyway, the way down the hill was treacherous, and I ended up sliding down a rocky, gravelly road. Miracle that I never fell, but my shoes skidded down the road about quite literally 50 feet or so without ever taking a step. It was like skiing on my shoes down those rocks. If I had fallen, I would have been very seriously injured. We highly recommend that you avoid disc golf at Bryan Head Resort, but if you decide to go to the top or walk down or sightsee or whatever, please make sure that you have very sturdy hiking boots, lots and lots of water, long pants if you can, hat and sunscreen. Sorry to call this one out, but it was quite honestly a nightmare. On the brighter side, at the back of the ski lodge, there was a deck with what I think they called beer and brats or something very similar to that. It wasn't open when we were there, but it looked like it could be quite fun. And inside the lodge, there is also a cafeteria that looked pretty decent. Well, here we are at the end of our tour of Bryan Head, Utah. And it's been fun.
Yeah, it has been.
We rode the ATVs, we went to the adventure park, we played disc golf, which was...
I'm going to say not recommended.
And I would say that with only a population of less than 100 people, there aren't a lot of places to eat. So if you're a foodie, might not be the best choice for you. But if you like being outdoors, hiking, biking, riding the ski lifts, all that kind of stuff, then it's a good place. It's quiet. It was interesting.
Yeah. One thing they have there that was really cool that I found just a different experience for us was the Cedar National Monument. We went there and just checked out the monument itself, which is just a really beautiful scenic drive. But then at night you can go back and it's one of those dark sky affiliates and it's just beautiful, and we were able to see the constellations, and we did end up having to do a little bit of it from the car because I do think there was something out there. It was so dark I couldn't see what critters were out there, and it was a little concerning, but that's just the city girl in me coming out. And it was beautiful and really good experience if you get a chance to see the constellations in the dark sky. It's worth it.
And if you're not familiar with the dark sky programs in the national parks, it's those that are far enough away from cities. They limit all lighting in the park after a certain time, and they're far enough away from cities that you don't get light pollution. So it's amazing at how many stars that you see. We do not see that many stars at home, and we had a pretty good night for it. It was nice and clear, and we found a nice phone app where we could point it to the sky, and it would actually put in all the constellations as we were looking at it. That was really cool. I was glad we did that.
Bruce actually caught something a little alien-esque on his phone, so that was kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we display that.
Yeah.
So.
Really cool.
All right, well, we are off to, where are we off to? We are off to Park City, Utah, will be our next stop. And we'll see you then.
Bye.
Good night.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
Please like the video and add a comment about some of your favorite experiences at this destination. Share it with a friend and definitely subscribe.